but the car in front got crossed up. He got even more crossed up as a reaction. Can't save it.
Oh, that's a big hit. That's a massive hit.
Big moment from Brad James. He's lost it. Can he get it back? Tank Slapper all the way down the hill, all locked up. He's kept it on the road. He hasn't kept the lead, but he's kept it in the right direction.
Place. Here's what happened to Sala. Oh, he was well wide. Oh, he's so close to that outside wall at turn 4.
Yes, there will be.
There will be. Yep, you're absolutely spot on there. Car number 200, which is Jacob Wingett. Too far away for the Lanotec Hyundai XL Series. I can hear him. It's a very, very long hold. And finally, after a couple of seconds, off we go. The pole sitter gets a very, very nice jump from the inside of the circuit, which is typically the dirtier side of the track. So you would expect that the grip levels are not as great as they are running down the right-hand side, or driver's right-hand side of the front straight. But protecting the inside here, Bradley James in the number 61. Holds off Jay Robotham into turn number 1. He goes 33. Tompkins looking to go the long way round the outside of, I think it was Tice Hodge in the 185, and he's got that done. So very nice job. And Brad Verica, what a start for Verica. He started down, I think it was about 8th or 9th place. He's already up and challenging Tice Hodge for 4th. So great launch for Brad Verica in the number 96.
Ran a bit wide there, though, out of turn 4. That'll affect the momentum all the way down the back straight. Oh, we've got a bit of a slow orange machine there on the inside. But up the front of the field,
someone's turned around. That's Ed Narkowitz in the Blue Marlin Pools entry. He's been turned around or has lost it on his own. I'm wondering if that was why there was the slow orange car was there, was checking up because it went down the inside and there was actually a car right in their path and had to slow down. So that'll be interesting to have a look at what caused all that little mess at turn number 4. Now up in the 4th place. He's managed to get that job done. So started 9th or 8th or 9th and already in 4th place.
Very, very good start. Can he keep on the tail of the top 3? They're trying to break away. Robotham, James and Tompkins as they come across the line to complete lap number 1. Brilliant new camera angle from the Blendline TV crew. Doesn't that look great? Really gives you a great perspective of the Sandown International Raceway. As Robotham, looking a little bit defensive down into turn number 1, is able to hold position.
Ashton Kadich now down the inside of Tice Hodge. Just ran out of real estate there. A little bit too late heading into turn number 1, so he'll still have to settle for 5th place there. In behind Kadich's Glenn McKenzie, the number 85 machine. A bit further behind there, William Sala's come forward as well in the number 36 machine, up into 8th place. Oh, and off goes, I think that might be Brendan Sala in the 181 potentially back there. Just out of shot. It's just a bit struggle to see. Yes, it is. Brendan Sala, the roadworthy shot machine, just gone straight on. Now, is he able to grab reverse out of that? And is there any steering damage? It doesn't look like there's any noticeable damage to the car, so may have just been out-braking himself into turn number 4. Caught out. Couldn't turn in when he wanted to turn in. Had no choice but to run off the road there. But importantly, hasn't hit the wall.
That 630 machine of Stricken newcomer to XLs, that looks remarkably like the Cadell Ambrose Hyundai from last year. So that's clearly where it's ended up, in the hands of Strick, who's doing a really fine job first time out, inside the top 10 and on the tail of Jet Murray, who we saw fighting for podiums and race victories late last year.
Yeah,
He really performed strongly, did Jet Murray, younger brother of ex-Carrera Cup driver Cooper Murray, and
that was the incident we just saw, before. So it didn't look like there was any contact or anything there. Just the car was a little bit out of shape, maybe coming off at turn 3, overcorrected slightly, and had to take the evasive action down at turn number 4. Carl's on for the lead here. Robotham is coming under siege from the pole sitter in Bradley James. This is a great exchange, very, very fair, very, very nice amount of room given there, and waiting to pounce is Tompkins. And all the time that these three are starting to fight and squabble, is Verica starting to get any closer? Is he bringing the next group of cars a little bit closer to the ones in front of him?
Incredibly, Hugo Simpson is up to 11th, and that's another machine off. That's a 32 car.
That's Lucy Sidwell.
Yep.
So she's come off. Looks like that's on the exit of turn number 1 there. She's perpendicular to the racing surface.
It's a big word for you, Steve, to start off the year. Perpendicular, very good.
I'm going to pull all the tricks out early going here. It's a bit of a tricky sort of area, turn number 1, because there's some really nasty curves we've seen over the time here. Let's see if she's managed to, what happened here? Was there a little bit of contact?
Yes, there will be.
There will be. Yep, you're absolutely spot on there. Car number 200, which is Jacob Wingett, and a bit of side-to-side contact there. So ran out of road, unfortunately, on one side of the track. One car moved over on another. That's the end result.
Absolutely, yes. You often see that, not just in XL racing, but we've seen it in supercars and many championships over the years down on the exit of that corner. Sort of funnels out, doesn't it, when you come off the curb, and if you're not given room, contact can be made, and was in that instance. I remember improved production, I think it was last year, a similar incident occurred, as we see, using all of the curbing on the outside. That's Hodge. Yeah, really aggressive on the curbs is Hodge, using all of the road. And he's got the place on Verica already on this lap, so that's up to 4th position. Verica unable to go with the top 3 early on in this race. And there's Hugo Simpson, just flashing past just before.
11th. Oh, we got a slow car here as well. This is car number 100, which is Abby Wingett, which is the lady that we mentioned a little bit earlier, had that unfortunate rollover a couple of years ago. Actually, the sister car to Jacob Wingett, who was involved in that incident with Lucy Sidwell. Now, she was in a bit of a precarious position. Has she managed to get off the road? She's done well there. She's got down the hill, off the way to the left-hand side to allow all this traffic to go through. So there'll be a mechanical issue there with Abby Wingett's number 100. Don't know if she'll be trying to limp that back to the pits, but I'd probably say if she can't, just got to find a spot that's nice and safe and pull the car over.
Absolutely. Doing well to keep that machine out of harm's way. And around they come once again. This race is flying by. Lots of action, but clean racing so far in XLs, which is great to see, particularly up the pointy end. But actually, Robotham is beginning to gap the 2 cars behind, 7/10 of a second. That time through, over half a second faster than the 2 gentlemen behind him. And now it's actually Tompkins putting the pressure on James as we see a move forward position. Kadich moving through on the inside of Sala. In fact, sorry, defending his position. Sala applying the blowtorch to the tail of the number 13 machine. Oh, that was tight a little bit further back.
Yeah, very tight a bit further back as the field comes through. So here's your top 4. There's 5th with Verica, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. There's Simpson in 10th. So he's managed to crack the top 10, just managing to get past Jet Murray in the last few moments down the front straight. So he's going to set his sights now on the back of the number 630 machine of Harry Strick, who's currently in 9th place. As you said, he's still doing a very, very nice job for his first run in XLs. And you just mentioned a few seconds ago that Robotham was starting to get to gap the field here. He must have made a little bit of an error somewhere here, because he's now got his hands right royally full with James for about the 4th time, and Tompkins is now buying in. This has now opened the door, as you mentioned earlier, with the series champion no longer here. The opportunity is ripe for somebody to step up and really put an exclamation point in a series. And there goes Tompkins through on James. Nice little manoeuvre at the last couple of corners.
And now Hodge is there as well, so it's gone from a 3-way fight to a 4-way fight, and I wouldn't rule out Verica either. This is fantastic racing to start off the Hyundai XL season as they head down towards turn number 1. Tompkins has got a great run. Oh, another machine
Sala
around.
again. Same car we saw a couple of corners ago with a bit of an issue. Oop, a little bit of trouble getting the replay to go there. But you're right, don't rule out Brad Verica. He's still stuck in the, well and truly in the mix here. Robotham now really needs to get his skates on because he had 7/10 over James. That margin has evaporated and Verica's right on the tail now of Tice Hodge. So 5-car breakaway, I'd say that is going to be for the win. And there is an eternity of time left on the clock. There's 5.5 minutes. So Robotham's got a lot of work to do. This is not like it's the last lap of the race where he's only got to worry about a couple of corners. He's probably got to worry about another couple of laps.
Absolutely, absolutely. Here they come down over the hill, falls away from you as you turn left, and then it's down, down, down all the way to Dandenong Road, and you're constantly turning as well. It makes it so hard to stop the car as Sala goes 4 wheels off, and so does Kadic behind. They're certainly pushing in the fight for 6th position. No quarter given, that's for sure. They are pushing 110%. As we look a little bit further down the field.
Simpson benefited from those couple of guys going wide as well. He's right in the middle of this group. Car number 117. He's managed to get the better of Strick. He's now moved up, I think, to 7th place just by looking at what's going on there, 7th or 8th place. Here's what happened to Sala. Oh, he was well wide. Oh, he's so close to that outside wall at turn 4. He's lucky not to hit that.
I think it was a case of do I hit the concrete wall or do I keep turning left and spin the thing, and he decided to spin it, I believe.
I heard that he actually gave that wall a decent bit of a nudge as well. It didn't look like it there to us, but from what we're hearing, he certainly did give that wall a bit of a touch-up job.
Fastest lap from Tompkins last time through, but despite that, look at that, Robotham has skipped away in the first sector of this lap, and look, Simpson's now at the head of that train, and look at this, too wide, Noah's Ark style out of turn number 4. There's at least 4 cars, there they are, coming around the corner, so that's Kadic and Sala, and then behind that, Jet Murray and Strick in the fight, this for 9th position on the racetrack.
So Simpson was the fastest man on the circuit last time around. In fact, he actually set the fastest lap of the race at a 33.67. He's gone up to 6th place overall now. There he is, ahead of Glenn McKenzie in the Vacationer car. So what has Simpson got in store? He's got, what are we looking at here, margin-wise? Dan, we're looking at probably about 4.5 or 3.5 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark from 5th to 6th, but still 3.5 minutes on the clock. Probably a bridge too far in Hyundai XL Racing. He'd be lucky to get to the back of the group. He's going to be relying on some mistakes from the leading group of 5 to try and crack that top 5 is Hugo Simpson.
He set the fastest lap of the race last time through of anyone, but as you say, with only 3 minutes to go, I don't think time is going to be on his side. Robotham a bit defensive down into turn number 1. It's a bit like the V's. It's hard to make a breakaway at Sandown Raceway. In a low horse-powered machine, you always give the people behind a good slipstream, and they are right back on you a straight later. But he's really driven a mature drive, has Jay Robotham, and he's been up the pointy end of this field for, I reckon, at least 90% of this race so far. He doesn't need to stay out there in front for much longer. Just 2 minutes left on the clock. You can see Simpson is catching visibly. He's catching, but I don't think it's going to quite be enough. Here comes Tompkins around the outside of Robotham. Not quite got enough overlap and has to slot back in behind. Robotham holding on, but he's got 4 cars jammed right up his bottom at this stage of the race. As they come out of Dandenong Road, the intensity's lifted.
Absolutely has. I got a little bit worried there for a minute when Harry Tompkins got awfully close to that nasty curb on the left-hand side heading down to Dandenong Road. It's called turn 8, but it has been a bit of a car breaker in the past. If you get a wheel in the wrong spot there, it will upset your braking for turn number 9 and you run long into the gravel trap, and he got mightily close to it. The other one, of course, is at turn 1 on that inside. It's a very, very nasty high curb. If you clip it at the wrong angle, you're going to end up going for a 2-wheeled excursion to the far edges of the circuit. So here we go. Tompkins looking down the inside of Rowbotham. Is this the opportunity? No, Jay's so good on the brakes. He runs a little bit deep, missed the apex, but he's so good under brakes. That actually gave him a little bit of an advantage there. He got a little bit more real estate on the road just for a couple of split seconds, just enough to head off the advances. And then you can see James is tacked right onto the back of Tompkins as well. Now, car 36 is William Sarley, who's been given the bad sportsmanship flag. Now, typically here at Sandown, that will be for short-cutting the circuit one too many times up the backside at turn 6 and 7.
We saw him do it 2 laps in a row, so he's probably done it a third time. The third time is when you get that warning next time will be a penalty of 5 seconds.
He's back in 10th at the moment, so he's in the next group of cars, so he's got to be rather careful because that's also just as willing a battle group as what's going on right here.
Absolutely. As we can see, Jay Rowbotham again has just pulled a little bit of a margin out on that back section of the course, but it'll come back down once again on this section of the course.
It'll be touch and go too, whether we get 1 lap or 2 here, I think, because they're coming to the line with just on sort of roughly 10 seconds on the clock, and it's time plus 1 lap. And I can't see, I don't think they haven't got the last lap board out, so we're going to get 2 more laps. So for Rowbotham, these next 2 laps are almost going to be like an eternity. He's going to be, he would have hoped that it would have been last lap this time around, but no, he's got 2 more tours to hold off the advances of the 4 cars behind him. They haven't left him all race long virtually. It's been a lineup of cars that no one's really been able to break away. No one's really been able to side to the front and get a really, really good advantage and just take off into the distance. It's been so closely fought, and Rowbotham's held them off for virtually the whole entire race. I think there's only been like 1 or 2 laps where he wasn't at the helm of the race.
Oh, big air 2 wheels for Canage. Can't take advantage down at turn number 4 in an XL. Turn 4 really isn't an overtaking opportunity unless there's been a real mistake from the car ahead at turn number 3. As we look back to the leading group, Tompkins pulling out ever so slightly, Rowbotham closing that door. No, you don't, he says. Not here, not at turn number 6. As we look back now at the second group, it's Mackenzie that leads them at the moment in 7th position. Then we've got Kadich, Murray, Sala and Strick. They are all together as well. This has been a brilliant start to the Hyundai XL season, hasn't it?
Absolutely. What a great way to start proceedings, not just for the Hyundai XLs, but for the 888 Home Loans Victorian State Race Series. The racing standard has already been very, very high, and the bar has been set for all the categories that are going to follow in the next half of the afternoon. Last lap board is now officially out, so make your move here, gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen, because there are a few female drivers in the field.
Second margin for Rowbotham. Something's happened in the back half of this lap with these others, and here we go up the inside. James on Lodge, and just behind as well, it's 2 by 2 between the 96 and the 185, and the 96 of Verica is shuffled out wide over the outside of the curb. That's not where you want to be. Not getting the power down like you'd like it out there. Oh, a bit taily as well from Tompkins. Is that going to allow James to break away now?
I'm not 100% sure. There's still a little bit more racing to go. I think Simpson has just about settled for 6th place. He had about 3.8 seconds was the difference to the next group of cars. But, there's a car off there at turn number... Actually, 2 cars off at turn number 4. Come to grief. That's Glenn McKenzie
and Jet Murray.
So that was in the second group of cars. Rowbotham's cleared out. The victory's his to lose at the moment. It's up to this little bit of battle here. And forcing to shortcut the circuit was Harry Tompkins, and very nearly bounced back into the number 61 of Bradley James. Now he's hung out to dry is the number 33 battery stock car on the outside of turn number 9. That's going to cost him a place, not only to Tice, but also potentially to Verica, who looked left and looked right and then had to settle by going back in behind Tompkins. But Rowbotham will get the win. James will be second. The drag race to the line to 3rd, I think, is possibly going to go in favour of Tice Hodge here. No, Tompkins fights back on the inside after the last corner and just manages to snaffle 3rd.
just 800ths between all three of them. Well, they were pretty tame for the start of the race, but it came alive on that final lap, didn't it? Awesome way to end that Hyundai XL race. This is what happened earlier on in the lap between Mackenzie and Jet Murray. They got crossed up on the exit at 3, and both ended up in the wall. That nearly went over. That was quite an incident there.
That's a nasty hit there for Glenn Mackenzie. I think they probably interlocked wheels. One got spun the other way, and yeah, that car jumped up quite violently when
Looks
it
like
hit
Murray's got moving again.
Yeah, I think Murray came off a little bit worse, a little bit better off compared to Glenn Mackenzie, because he was the car that sort of got turned in on, and then Mackenzie was pitched hard right, hit the Armco, bounced up in the air, and that would have broken the steering or something under there. So
from there, the rest of the field came through. Here are the results on the screen for you now.
So that results screen there really doesn't sort of tell the full entire story of what just happened over the course of 10 or 11 laps in Hyundai XL racing. There was very, very close in that top 10 across 2 or 3 different groups for most of the race, and only sort of really settled itself in the closing stages. As you can see there, plenty of drivers. There's about 4 or 5 drivers that didn't quite make the checkered flag, unfortunately, so they'll start from the back tomorrow.
Coming on, we are moments away from race number 2, the feature race in Hyundai XLs. We're underway. Great launch from Brad James. Certainly a better start than Jay Robotham. Can he pull ahead down towards turn number 1, try and get that overlap? He's moving across the road, but Jay Robotham's just about got a bit of overlap, and he's able to hold the inside line.
He's actually ahead, but have a look at this. We're now 4 wide. Simpson buys into this as well. 4 wide into turn 1. They somehow get down to 2 by 2. Robotham gets hung out to dry there a little bit on the outside, but Simpson with a brilliant start. Up 3 positions now in the 117 machine from the 3rd row of the grid. We did say he was going to be in position today if he was able to get a good result yesterday, and we're proven right there. Great start from the man in the 117 machine.
Great camera angle from Blendline TV that they've put in overnight. Really shows how close these Hyundai XLs in particular get to this wall. I'm sure we'll see many highlights over not just this race, but the one this afternoon as well, as they rub the concrete wall. It's caught out the very best in the business over the years, has that fence. As we see Kadich up the inside, and oh, big moment from Brad James. He's lost it. Can he get it back? Tang Slapper all the way down the hill, all locked up. He's kept it on the road. He hasn't kept the lead, but he's kept it in the right direction. Phenomenal car control.
How has he saved that? He lost that over the top of the hill, left and right. I'd love to see, has he got white gloves? Because I'd just love to see how much wheel work was going on there. We've got a stationary car. It's the number 200 machine of Jacob Wingett, and another stationary car. That's Ambrose in the 199 from Tasmania. Beached at turn number 9 in Dandenong Road, going nowhere. And another car, number 142, Carly Fleming. So there's been a little bit of contact and some argy-bargy a bit further down the field in the pack. I won't be surprised to see the safety car thrown in the next few minutes.
There, Wingett has got going once again, but it looks to me like there's been at least 2 incidents, one at turn 6, one down at Dandenong Road. And crucially, look at that, Simpson taking the lead just seconds before the safety car was deployed. Crikey, it was all going on there. We were watching the big moment all the way down the hill for James, but there was plenty going on elsewhere.
Let's have a look at the replay with thanks to Blendline TV, because this was a moment. Have a look at this. Top of the hill, watch the lead car. Got the curb on the inside, left, right. That's 3, 4, bounced 5. Big front, double front lock-up, and managed to pull it up for the corner.
Incredible. You know what? I'd love to see Jay Robotham's GoPro footage from behind. That would be sensational.
You and me both. I think we're both going to be straight down to Jay's garage after this, but that's going to be on the highlight reel, I think, from the socials on Vic State Race and Blendline TV. I think overnight, I would not be surprised to see that the amount of footage and the amount of views that gets in the next 24 hours. That was a sensational save.
It certainly was, and I was saying just before when we were watching the Blendline package, all the highlights from last year, that will be in next year's. In 2024, we'll be looking back at that moment again. Do you remember? Because that was a remarkable save. He had at least 6 or 7 goes at trying to get it back in the right direction, and he succeeded on all occasions and managed to keep it in a straight line. But he has dropped to 4th but I think he'd take that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and you're right. Crucially, Simpson managed to get the race lead before the yellow flags came out for the safety car as well. So that's a very, very important bit of driving for him. So he's gone from 6th place on the starting grid to the lead of the motor race.
Certainly has, as we see all the drivers weaving left and right, trying to keep warmth in the tyres. Particularly hard to keep warmth in the rear tyres and get warmth in the rear tyres in TCR. In all front-wheel drive categories, it's a challenge. We see it in TCR and in XLs, and I think that was the reason for James's big slide at high speed. The rear tyres just weren't quite up to temperature, and he lost the back end over the brow of the hill and down to turn number 6. So yeah, rear tyre temps in front wheel drive machinery is certainly hard to get.
I've noticed a couple of drivers coming towards the pit lane entry, and in Bradley Jenner looks like he brought his car in and he wasn't involved in any incidents from what I could see. Jacob Wingett, Carly Fleming and Abby Wingett look like they've all made appearances in the lane as well. I'm wondering, there might have been a couple of drivers that actually didn't start the race as well because they're not showing up on timing. So Glenn McKenzie we know about. Johnson in the number 129 doesn't look like he took the start. And the only others there was, of course, Glenn McKenzie, and Ambrose hasn't completed a lap. He's currently stuck in the kitty litter at turn number 9, still being dragged out. And it's actually gone in quite a fair way, hasn't it? You can actually see the trails of where the car came from. It actually was off the circuit on the driver's right-hand side. You can see there's a big trail of where that car has come from, off the grass and through the gravel trap. They're doing a good recovery job down there just with the snatch strap. There was actually a couple of incidents in Friday practice where the tow ropes that are on the mandatory tow ropes that are meant to be on the front of these cars have actually snapped when they've been getting pulled out. So drivers were urged to double check those. As we have another look at the replay here. So that's what happened with the first part. Oh, big double front lock up for Ambrose in the middle of the field. So that was all on her own.
Yeah. So that was a surprise, actually, considering how many cars and all the chaos that was going on down there. Yeah, all by themselves, off the road, and yes, got beached straight away. So it's pretty tame yesterday. It was a good, what's the word I'm looking for, quality race yesterday throughout. Really clean, really fair racing throughout the field. And then on the last lap, it really intensified. There was a bit of bumping door to door. It was still good, clean racing though. Whereas today they've had a bit of a sleep overnight and they've come out. I think they've eaten a few too many lollies this morning or something.
Too much red cordial.
Yes, must be absolutely. As we see then, we'll run you through the order. It's Simpson from Robotham. Tompkins in the number 33 machine will come out of position. 33 will restart in 3rd. I'll get it out in a second. James from 4th. Verica 5th. Sala, Hodge, Caddage, Strick and Bloomerus. And there's not too many others that haven't had an incident on the opening lap. Morales, Wilson, Carpenter, the other Sala, and then pretty much all of the others had some sort of incident in one way or another on that opening lap.
Yeah, I would agree. There's probably at least 3 or 4 of the drivers that probably haven't had their name called that have been involved in a little bit of an incident over the first couple of races. Actually, Ambrose has got going again, so they've pulled out Tabitha Ambrose from the turn 9 gravel trap. She's actually just gone past the front straight here and going to tag on to the back of the field. So she's going to be a lap down, but importantly will still have racing laps. So if the safety car lights are out at turn 9, that's what I was just about to say, that in the briefing yesterday was the last point or possible that they would turn the safety car lights out if they were going to go back to racing was going to be turn 9. That is precisely what has happened. So only a short period of time under safety car, just 2 laps. So Hugo Simpson now has control of this 23 car XL field. And to say 23, it was started with 29 across the weekend. There's a handful of drivers that have not made their way back onto the circuit from yesterday, and those that were caught up in some of the incidents. So where's the go point for Hugo Simpson. He's got control right to the control line, which is coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now. He actually went a little bit earlier than that. Actually, good restart. Well controlled by Hugo Simpson. He takes 2 cars with him, Rowbotham and Tompkins, all the way to driver's extreme right, heading down towards turn 1. The preferred racing line, and that leaves James to hold off Verica and Will Sala and Tice Hodge on the opposite side of the circuit, but they swing back over to the right because they need to open up the next corner, which goes left.
Absolutely, they do. Everyone, very nice restart. No overlapping at all across the line. You see that quite often. If there's any overlap, it's an instant penalty. It's applied to the end of the race. But everyone's really well behaved. Everyone's read the rule book in the off-season. They know what they're doing with that wall. Yes, certainly are. I can see Murray's made up a good few positions. He's in position number 17. He might have even made up a few more positions in the first few corners. So a great opening lap from the man who came from the back of the grid. P29 made up 12 positions on lap number 1 alone.
Yeah, certainly has. So Verica sits in there in 5th place. That's about where he finished yesterday. There's this next group of cars that's coming down the hill here. There's the Simrigs number 11 entry. We mentioned about that car before. Jack Carpenter, the winner of the Vic State Series for Hyundai Excels this year, gets a simrigs.com simulator worth nearly $10,000. So very, very important prize on offer. And Carpenter's was involved, I think, in one of those incidents yesterday. He's managed to start in 15th and he's moved himself up to 13th. That's only 2 spots, so a little bit of progress for the simrigs.com entry.
Here they go across the line. Only 4 minutes left on the clock. Of course, timed races, so a lengthy safety car period eats into the race time. It means it's really a sprint to the finish from here. And the top 4 have sprinted away from the rest of the field as James holds it around the outside. He wants 3rd position back. He knows he's quick. He led this race until that big moment on lap number 1, and he's got 1 back. So 1 position made. He needs 2 more. He's got 4 minutes to do it in the number 61 machine. He's trying to gap Tompkins, and the top 2 have just edged ahead ever so slightly, but that's certainly catchable, that's for sure.
Yeah, the gap's not insurmountable with the amount of time left on the clock. But with Hugo Simpson out in front, going to make it very, very difficult for the likes of James and Tompkins to try and catch, because Rowbotham's going to push him hard all the way. And Simpson's no slouch. He's been in the XLs for a couple of years now. He knows how the cars behave. He knows how they drive. He's been featuring at the front of quite a large number of the XL races over the last several seasons, so he'll know what he needs to do to try and secure a win here. And he's trying desperately to pull a little bit of a gap here, but Rowbotham is not letting him get away.
No, you're going to struggle to pull a gap on Jay Rowbotham, particularly in a Hyundai XL. We've got 3 of the very best XL drivers in the country currently in the top 3 positions, and I'll include Harry Tompkins in that as well. He's a very good steerer of an XL as well, but actually the battery stop machine is weaving, trying to stop that tow behind in 4th position. The top 3 very much in line as they tip it into turn number 1. Or a bit of a lock-up for Sala. I think that was Kadich up the inside of him. Oh, and he's gone around there, so there's contact, I think, between the 2.
Yeah, between Kadich and Sala. I was about to say there's been more contact the minute I heard the lock-up going on, and then the aftermath of the Dunlop de Reza tyres protesting as somebody was on the slide going through turn number 1. Kadich looks like he might have been held up a little bit as a result of that little skirmish with Sala. He's now very much fighting, I think, with Strick and Bloomerus to keep them at bay.
Up the hill they go. This is a replay of what happened. We didn't quite see it as they went under the bridge. Kadich up the inside. And yeah, simply a case of 2 people fighting for the same piece of tarmac. That's going to be the end result.
Yeah, there would have been a little bit of racing room had to be left there. I think it didn't look like there was a lot of contact. Would have been very, very minor if there was one, but just enough because there's no weight in the rear end of the XL, just enough to push the rear end around because all the weight's in the front, motors in the front wheel drive. So there's very, very little weight going over the rear end of these cars. Looks like we'll probably have about 2 laps to go this time around. There has been a change at the front. Rowbotham assumes the race lead. So he's managed to rip that lead away from Hugo Simpson somewhere over the backside of the circuit and sets the fastest lap of the race in the process by some considerable margin at the moment too. He's a good, tenth or so of a second quicker than the next best lap of Bradley James, who set it on the previous tour.
2 laps to go, we are hearing. So this the penultimate lap of the race. And James is there. This is very much a 3-way fight. And don't think, Robotham set the fastest lap last time, so he's going to pull away from the field. Excel Racing doesn't work like that, particularly at Sandown with the big toe, big drag strips on either side of the circuit. Oh, that looks...
Second time.
That's awkward-looking camera angle. That's the 181 machine. That's the other Sala in the field.
At the same spot where the sister car went around a lap ago.
Yeah, not been a good corner for the Salas. We see a couple of cars trying to sweep around the outside. That's Kennedy in the 159 machine.
Yeah, the 142 tucked in there as well, which is Carly Fleming. And you got Peter Fleming directly behind her. So if that's I think it's father and daughter that go racing in those 2 cars. They've done a little bit of moonlighting, improved production as well. It's a couple of races last year, but found their home back in the XLs. And they're, I was about to say, that's close to 4 wide going up the hill.
Pretty willing fight for the positions outside the top 15. Who's going to prevail? It's going to be the 159 machine. So yeah, this is the fight for 22nd position.
Yeah, this is the fight right at the back of the field. It's good to see fights going all the way through the field. Plenty of battles, plenty of drivers having a good crack at each other, even if you're all the way down the order. So last lap board is out now, and now's the time that Hugo Simpson tries to pounce on Robotham at turn 1. Couldn't get it done. Couldn't hang around the outside at turn 2, which means he needs to fall back into line for turn 3. And Brad James is right there as well. The all-important drive on turn number 4. If you're going to make a move down at Dandenong Road, you've got to be right under the rear boot lid and right on the rear bumper bar of your opponent to have any chance of making it stick.
It's a 3-way battle for 4th as well, but we're going to focus on the leaders because they are side by side. Hugo Simpson going around the outside. Robotham's going to squeeze him right up to the grass. And Hugo Simpson can nearly turn across his nose, but not quite enough of an overlap to do so. Robotham holds on. Simpson has to cut through the chicane. He's running out of opportunities now to retake the lead. There is just 3 corners to go. Only 2 real corners, the right and then the left. If you hold it around the outside, you may be able to... No, he's going for the inside.
Oh, Major Sender looking down the inside there at turn number 11. Robotham covered it off and will out-drag the 117 of Simpson and the 61 of James to get his 2nd win for the weekend. That won a lot narrower margin compared to what it was yesterday afternoon. And Simpson was a factor. We knew he was going to be there or thereabouts. He pushed Robotham hard. Robotham pushed him just as hard. Robotham prevails at the end of the day by 0.3 of a second.
And then only 0.2 between Simpson and James, so half a second covering the top 3 at the end of the race. Tompkins prevailed in the fight for 4th position. Oh, there's a bit of smoke there. Is that just kicking up dust because he's so far off the racing line? It is.
Yeah, a bit close to the old Armco fence there. Kicking up whatever's left on the outside of the circuit. Does get a little bit dusty here from time to time with all the rubbish and the tyre marbles that end up on that side of the circuit.
You can see all the tyre marbles on the left-hand side as we're looking of that yellow line as cars continue to come through. Sala recovered in the 181 machine to take a few positions. All of those 4, I think, he was behind at one stage. So nice recovery there to finish 21st in the end. Field in Hyundai XLs in 2024 as the lights go out. Very even jump from the front row of the grid. The best start of the top 4 was undoubtedly Harry Tompkins. A brilliant start in the battery stop machine, the red and black one in the center of the shot. But it's going to be really tight. Who's going to be the bravest of the front 2 down into turn number 1? Tompkins is right in there as well. He might try and take 2nd position from the 117 machine. Not quite able to do so as Simpson uses all of the road on the outside of the track, as does James, and that allows him back up the inside into turn number 2. So it's as it was on the grid, but it wasn't quite as simple as that. And Verica slots into position number 5.
As you said, Harry Tompkins got the best start of the lot. He had covered off third place against Bradley James on the run to turn number 1, but then promptly coughed it up on the exit of turn number 2. And it was basically as you were at the start of the race, and they were sitting on the grid. So they're in their original grid spots. And Robotham moved over on the front straight to cover off Hugo Simpson quite quickly, and he's doing the same here. He's allowing Simpson to make the first move, moving to cover the defence. You're allowed one defensive move to hold position. You cannot make more than one change of direction, otherwise you'll be deemed to be blocking. And Robotham is using all his experience from racing not only in XLs but in the Bathurst 1000 as a co-driver, and also from his racing around the world in Thailand as well. He's putting all that to good use at the moment. He's held off Simpson for 1 lap, and he's got to hold him off for at least another 10.
Absolutely, as they come across the line. 13 minutes remaining on the clock. Of course, timed races in the Vic State Race Series. Look at Robotham holding the inside line, defending that manoeuvre down into turn number 1. Simpson, I don't think he'll be close enough on this occasion, but he can't be much closer as they head down into turn number 1. Look at them all fan out further behind, including the 630 machine.
Strick.
It is Strick indeed, and Carpenter is recovered nicely from a couple of issues earlier on in the weekend.
It's got a different bar on the front of that car now. We saw yesterday after qualifying that car, the number 11 Simrigs.com car, it had the front end, was all smashed in, the radiator mount was all pushed back. They did a remarkable job to turn that car around and get it on the rear of the grid for yesterday's first race, and he just progressed forward ever so nicely over the course of the weekend. So big hats off to that team, because they've done a fantastic job to get that car race ready after what could have been nearly a weekend-ending incident.
Absolutely, and that was the same incident that saw Hugo Simpson not record lap time in qualifying either, so both been on the comeback trail since then. I can hear a lock-up, can I? The back of the shot down into Daniel Road. No smoke signals to show that, so maybe it's just my hearing getting old. Anyway, we see the 630 machine once again. It's really nicely presented, that Strick machine, and looks very similar to that Cadel Ambrose. It is the same XL, but it's a very similar livery to what Cadel Ambrose, the reigning champion, drove late last year.
Yeah, it's got the Accelerate XL Racing parts emblazoned across it, which is a different livery and a different sponsor compared to what Ambrose had yesterday, but you're right, looks remarkably similar to the livery we saw with Cadel Ambrose in the latter half of the season last year. I remember seeing the another livery, the old familiar orange and black is the one that I remember of Cadel Ambrose, which he sort of campaigned for the first half of the season before he made that late switch. I think it came around sort of Phillip Island was when we first saw that livery. That's now on car number 630, being piloted by Harry Strick. All bouncing all the way over the rip strip. A little bit of too much aggression, I think it was, there for the car that's in 4th spot or 5th spot at the moment. I think it's Tice Hodge is the one that was sort of bouncing over almost towards the wall at turn number 4.
As we see them go over the rise, top 3 have pulled over 2 seconds over Harry Tompkins in 4th position. He's sort of by himself, because there's a battle here for 5th position. Hodge, Verica and William Sala going down into Dandenong Road. So 3-way fight for 1st and a 3-way fight for 4th position. Oh, a couple of wheels dropped over the gravel on the outside there by Hodge, but he's kept up the momentum and kept it facing in the right direction. It's been a really good weekend for Hodge to this point, and touch wood, I am touching wood, that it remains the same for him, because he's really had a strong performance from the word go.
All right, so here's Tabitha Ambrose, who was in the gravel trap in this morning's race, but has had a spin and recovering from that spin now and making her way back up through the field, and is going to be outside the top 20 at this point. And the car in behind there is number 122, which is Peter Fleming. So they're dropping down, it looks like, to about 22nd or 23rd. Back to the front of the field. And you're right, this group of 3, they've kicked away really early. This is a big surprise, all things considered, with the way that the last 2 races have gone, where we had 4 or 5 cars and they were right in the thick of things. This lead group of 3, they're checking out. They're in the 33s, so 33.6 for Rowbotham, 33.6 for Simpson, 33.5 for James, and fastest lap of the race. They were all personal bests that last time around. And then the next group, all with personal bests, are in the low to mid 34s. So they've picked the conditions right here. I think the track temperature's definitely gone up. I did see a few people out with the temperature guns reading them in the pit paddock and in the pit lane area. I think I saw on the gauge was up around 41 to 43 degrees. As there goes Carpenter. He's had a moment over the top of the hill coming down through 6, 7, 8, and 9. And now having to recover. Be really careful. There goes, I think that's Brendan Sala, right around the outside of the slow-moving number 11.
Looks like a lose at the top of the hill around the very first and sketchy, if you get it wrong, turn number 6. And it looks like there was a sketchy moment for the number 11 machine. If Carpenter has lost at least a handful of places, I'm watching him plummet down the timing screen. Here we go, first change of the lead in this race. Hugo Simpson very, very briefly holds the lead and will continue that momentum and take it down at turn number 2. Rowbotham, no choice but to slot back in behind there. You can't really keep the position on the outside and fire back up the inside at turn 3. Generally ends up in an incident, quite a spectacular one, as we've seen over the years.
That's what happened to Carpenter.
I'm not sure if there's contact there, but there's certainly a lot of noise.
A lot of noise. It didn't look like there was some contact. The car that was directly behind sort of seemed to go straight through, so maybe a similar incident to what we saw with Bradley James this morning, although coming off a little bit worse for wear, not being able to keep the car on the blacktop. Had to use a little bit more of the off-track real estate to get himself going again. So Simpson had thrown down the gauntlet to Rowbotham in race 2 this morning, and Rowbotham sort of took everything that Simpson could throw at him but didn't quite crack. So this is the first proper time that Simpson is in front all weekend long, and really now he's got to show Jay Rowbotham what he's got up his sleeve from a defensive point of view. For Simpson, you'd be looking to just drive away, but Rowbotham's going to have that number 117 XL basically on a fishing line and not going to want to let the big fish get away.
Behind on the left-hand side of the screen, we can see Tompkins has been caught by Hodge, and in fact it's actually Hodge that's gapped the two behind him, so he's closed that gap because Tompkins is very much by himself.
Verica's the one that's actually dropped back. That's the thing. I think that's the obvious picture there. Tice Hodge and Harry Tompkins, they had Brad Verica for company. He's actually dropped back behind William Sala now, so lost one spot there in the last lap or two has Brad Verica in the Verica Smash Repairs number 96. And this is what I was saying before. I think a few drivers might have picked the conditions quite nicely because that track temperature has been going up steadily throughout the day. Air temperature is only about 24 degrees, but you can very much close to double the track temperature, and I'd seen it sort of was up around the 43 degree mark. That dictates a lot of things. It dictates, you know, your starting tyre pressures. It dictates a little bit of your setup as well, but predominantly the tyre pressures. And if you get it right, you get a good result like these three have out in front. If you get it wrong, you start to plummet down the field because your tyres become a bit too inflated as the pressures go up. So you start the pressures a bit lower, and as the race goes on, that builds the pressure up. You don't want to start them too high because they'll over-pressurise. You've got not enough grip. You know, that's the complete opposite to what you would do in the wet. You'd start your pressures a lot higher so you can clear the water, but because you haven't got all the tarmac being put, or your rubber being put down to the tarmac, your tyres are in the wrong state, you just lose time hand over fist. So these three, I think, have guessed it right. They've worked it all out, and a couple of the others not so much.
Absolutely. As you may be thinking, Jay Rowbotham, why is he driving a Hyundai XL? Just keeping his racecraft nice and sharp ahead of what's going to be a pretty busy season for the youngster, of course, headlined by a couple of drives for expected drives in the endurance season once again later on in the year. And Rowbotham is right on the tail of Hugo Simpson as they exit the turns 1, 2 and 3, all nose to tail. Tompkins and Hodge nose to tail as well as they roar up the back straight. one more time. We've seen in the first couple of races, they just kept jostling for places. Apart from the switch between Simpson and Rowbotham at the head of the field, there's not been anywhere near as much overtaking in this one. And that's, I think, just to say it, yes, here comes Rowbotham then, swinging it around the outside. I was going to say, this is how these guys have broken away from the rest of the field. And if they do battle, could the others come back into contention? So Rowbotham retakes it at the front. Oh, bit of a love tap there, I think, from James on the tail of Simpson, but no foul.
Yeah, that one will be okay. For a long time in XL racing in the early years, we did see quite often at Phillip Island there was a lot of bump drafting going on. That's actually something that's been outlawed in the regulations for a little while. So car-to-car contact is strictly prohibited, but not that kind of car contact. That's a big shunt coming down the hill towards Dandenong Road. That's Wilson in the Masterpiece Homes 53, and that's got significant rear-end damage. That'll facilitate a safety car. That car's going nowhere. And I would not be surprised in the next 30 seconds to see this race nullified. But that is now the opportunity. Here comes Tice Hodge on Harry Tompkins. Got to get this move done before the yellow flags come out. Otherwise, he'll have to slot back into place. But Tompkins is having absolutely none of it and fights off the driver of car number 185 and should hold sway with a good exit here up the back straight. There'll be yellow flags at the top of the hill, so there'll be no passing heading down through turn 6, 7, 8 and 9. They'll have to wait till they clear turn 9 before they get the green flag to go racing again. It'll remain to be seen whether or not they actually throw the safety car with little over 2 minutes remaining. They might just be content to leave the yellow flags out.
I think Simpson was having a look there, but saw the yellows and had to back out. And as you say, all the way down here, not an overtaking opportunity till right now on the exit of the corner. It's back to green flag racing. So it looks like we're going to keep it with local yellows down there at turn 6, 7, 8 and 9. And the rest of the track is go as hard as you like. James temporarily dropped off the top two. And now he's caught back up to them. So James says, James, first lap of the race of these three is best 1/10 faster. But again, he seems to have dropped off in a straight line. So not sure if James is struggling with some straight line speed. He's dropped miles back. I think there's some issue with the James car in a straight line. He catches back up again in the corners, but he's certainly struggling in straight line performance. It's a tale of these two now, and Simpson takes it around the outside at turn number 1, and now has the inside for turn number 2. Brilliant race in between the two, and it's Simpson once again that takes the lead. Rowbotham a bit of an overlap, but has to slot back in behind into turn number 4, and James is right on them again. But I think by the end of this very long straight, he'll be miles back. The dejection, real disappointment for Wilson. Good to see, though, that he's got out the car okay. As we're looking a bit further back, there's a bit of smoke coming from a car.
No, I think we're just looking at a replay there just to see, there might have been a little bit of smoke coming out of one of the back of the cars. But let's have a look. If we've got the yellow flag still out here at the top of the hill, yes, we do. So there's no passing up into turn number 6. So with one more lap to go after this one, there's not very many opportunities left to make a passing move, but we're hearing that the checkered flag is actually being readied at the start-finish line potentially. So this race might be over with one lap earlier than we anticipated because of the recovery that's going to have to happen after the race is over. I'm looking from the position here to see what's going on start-finish line, but it's a good run out of the final corner for Rowbotham. But if the flag's out, which it is, there's nothing he can do about it. There's not enough time to get that done. And the checkered flag does indeed go to Hugo Simpson with Rowbotham and James. The three of them separated by a little over 0.3 of a second. So James caught back up in the end, but unfortunately couldn't do anything about the leading duo. And for Rowbotham, second place for him, unfortunately ruins what would have otherwise been a perfect weekend with 3 race victories.
98 points, though, nothing to be sniffed at.
Still
2
the round
wins
winner.
and a second as Atlee still takes the round win. And Simpson and James joint second on 86 points. As we see them continue to come across the line. Tabitha Ambrose there, crossing the line in position number 18. Here is a replay, I think, of what happened. The accident The car
on
in
his
front got
own.
crossed up. He got even more crossed up as a reaction. Can't save it.
That's a big hit. That's a massive hit. That was looking likely for the first half of it. It was almost going to be like Bradley James from this morning's race, being able to save it. But no, just the car swapped ends, had a little bit too much speed, swapped ends. He'll be winded because of that, Wilson, no doubt about it. That would have been quite the hit. And he'll be going straight off to the medical facility, I would say, for a checking over.
Oh, for sure. The rules are if you hit a certain amount of G-forces in the car in an accident, you do go to the medical centre. And that certainly recorded a lot of G-forces, so much so that when the rear of the car hit the tyre wall at high speed, the front two wheels lifted up into the air. Such was the extreme speed at which that car decelerated. So really glad to see that he's hopped out of the car all right. Yeah, really fast incident, that one. Of course, smashed the rear windscreen as soon as it touched the tyre wall, but looks like the car can be recovered.
That's what the roll cage in that car is for as well. That would have shielded him quite well from the impact, but yeah, he'll definitely be winded. He'll definitely need to be checked out. They always say race cars can be repaired or replaced, but humans unfortunately cannot. So good to see that the safety mechanisms in the cars these days are doing precisely what they have been engineered to do.
Absolutely, and the recovery team straight down there, the fire marshals and everything. Brilliant job from our volunteer officials that have done such a good job, not just on the track, but also running the show as well in the pits, you know, making sure everyone's on the grid, everyone in the secretary's office as well. It's really been a great team effort for round number one, and it's run very smoothly thus far. So yeah, and a big thanks to the MG Car Club, who of course run this round in particular, round number one of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. Bit of a car park down there at the moment as all of the XLs come into the lane. Nice to see a sort of retro mobile livery there on that machine as the cars continue to come through. We should be out with Vic V8s in the not too distant future, but for the XLs, there's plenty to talk about throughout the weekend. Shame that the race finished the way it did. We'll run you through those results. So it's Hugo Simpson that did take the win from Robotham James. Tompkins finishing 3 seconds behind in the end, but held on to finish in 4th position ahead of Hodge and Verica. Those were very close in the end. William Sarlett not too far behind. He beat home Strick. A good recovery from Jet Murray coming from 13th to finish in 9th ahead of Cisco Morales, who rounded out the top 10.
Yeah, certainly did. So your round winner is going to be Jay Robotham, 98.